People like to hear that. A man who honors the past and a man who wants a strong Canada for future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Max Bernier.
Thank you very much, David. First, I must say I'm very, very pleased to be with you tonight. And let's start by the beginning. The beginning is People's Party of Canada. Why we decided to create a new political party in 2018. And what is the People's Party of Canada? I want you to know that, because I want you tonight, after the end of that evening, to be able to go out and to speak about your values and about the PPC. Because I believe that you need our voice, but we need your vote. And we decided to create the PPC after the leadership contest in 2017. I was a candidate for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada in 2017. I didn't win with 49% of the vote. I decided after that to stay with the Conservative Party of Canada and the leader at that time, Andrew Scheer. But after 13 months, I had a meeting with Andrew Scheer. And I said, I don't understand. We will have an election soon. That was in 2018. And I said, and we had the election, as you know, in 2019. And I said, why are you not taking any of our ideas? My ideas during the leadership campaign were very popular. I had 49% of the vote. And you're telling me, Andrew, that you won't take any of our ideas for the platform of the Conservative Party of Canada for the next election. He said, Maxime, you're right. I won't take any of your ideas. I said, why? He said, your ideas were popular with the membership of the Conservative Party of Canada. But we did a lot of polls and focus group, and your ideas are not popular with the population. So I want to be Prime Minister, and I won't take any of your ideas. And that's why in 2018, I resigned, and I said this party, the Conservative Party of Canada, is intellectually and morally corrupt because they don't speak about conservative values, because for them they're doing politics based on survey and focus group. They don't have any conservative principles. Their only goal is to be in power, and they are politically correct. We are living in a socialist era right now, and yes, when the conservatives are speaking like socialists, they may have more chances to be elected. And actually, that's what Pierre Poilievre is doing. They are not doing politics by conviction, but by speaking like liberals, they are giving credibility to the leftist narrative. The Conservative Party of Canada is only conservative in name. That's it. So in 2018, I took the same ideas and I said that will be the platform for the new party, the People's Party of Canada, and we will do politics differently. Because we are not looking at polling and focus group. It's not important for us. If one of our ideas or one of our policy is not popular, for us it's a nice challenge. The more we'll speak about that policy, the more popular it will become. And so we're doing politics based on 4 principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And we will never do any compromise with our principles. So I'll give you the example. In the first campaign in 2019, I spoke about immigration. And I said, you know, we must say no to mass immigration. People were looking at us, oh, it's a little bit racist to say that, and blah, blah, blah. But we believe that, you know, we like this country and we want this country to be like that in 25 years. And look what happened in Europe with mass immigration. So we need to control our immigration like we did in the past. And that was not popular in 2019. But right now it is more popular. More people understand that 500,000 people that will come to Canada every year, when you are a country of 39 million people, that's mass immigration. And actually last year, we had 1 million people that came to Canada. 435,000 immigrants. And after that, you count the foreign students and the permanent resident. That was 1 million people. That number is coming from Statistics Canada. That's why we have a housing crisis right now. All these people need a roof. And, you know, that's mathematical. So you need to have fewer immigrants, and the majority of them must be skilled immigrants, and we must be able to take care of them. But right now, it's not the case. And Poilievre and the Conservative won't speak about that. Because for Poilievre, he's going to the left. Because his only goal, like Andrew Scheer, is to be in power. And to be in power, he will need to have the support of the big cities like Toronto and Vancouver. And we know that people living in the big cities have nothing against them, but we know that they're leftist. And Poilievre is splitting the liberal votes. That is goal. So that's why we created the People's Party. And I said the party is a smart populist party with common sense ideas. Why smart? Smart because we want to appeal to your intelligence, not to your emotions. Usually mainstream political parties will appeal to your emotion. Just remember COVID hysteria. They use fear to control your behavior. And that's not the case. For us, you need to read the platform, understand the platform, and that's it. It's based on common sense. You need to make an effort to go on our website and read about the PPC to know a little bit more. So we won't, and we will never do politics to try to use emotions to have your support. And we won't pander to any political or ethnicity or political groups. That's what they're doing. We are looking at you as Canadians, and our policies are good for every Canadian. And so a smart populist party. Why populist? Because we are putting you first, Canadian first, and our country first. We are saying no to mass migration, yes, but we are saying no also to the UN and all these supranational government. For Poilievre and the Conservative, Poilievre is okay with the migration compact coming from the UN. We are the only party that is saying no to the migration compact. Poilievre is okay with the Paris Accord. And I must admit, the only difference with Trudeau, he won't impose a carbon tax, but he will impose more regulations on businesses to be sure to be in line with all the targets in the Paris Accord. So when you impose more regulations on a business, that's always a cost for us. The business will transfer that cost to us consumers. But for us, we will withdraw from the Paris Accord. That's it. So we won't impose any carbon tax. We won't impose any carbon tax. We won't impose any regulation. Actually, we won't do anything for the climate because the climate is always changing, and that's it. There's no climate emergency. But it's not popular to say that, so Polyev is like the Liberals and the NDP on that. So, common sense policies. There's no climate emergency. Let's work to save the environment. You know, we still have lakes that are polluted. We need to, you know, in Montreal, they are still dumping their sewage in the St. Lawrence River in 2023. All that must stop. But it's not a priority for Polyev and these establishment politicians. They want to solve the climate. I don't know. They think that they will have an influence on the climate. So let's be realistic. Smart, populist party saying no to the UN and no also to the World Economic Forum. Yeah. And I want to insert something that you may saw on the internet. Bernier is a globalist. Bernier was in Davos in 2008. We cannot trust him. He's speaking against the World Economic Forum right now because it's popular and good for him to speak like that. No, I always believe in the sovereignty of our country. But yes, I was in Davos in 2008. What I was doing over there? I was there, just remember, in 2008, we, as a country, we were in war in Afghanistan. And I was the foreign affairs minister. And my Prime Minister Harper, asked me to find some help for our Canadian forces in Afghanistan. At that time, we didn't have the equipment, and we still don't, to fight over there. So he said, you must speak with your counterparts, other foreign affairs ministers, and ask them, their country, to help us in Afghanistan. So I said, there's a big meeting in Davos, and all these foreign affairs ministers will be there. So for me, that's a nice opportunity to be there and to have meetings with them and asking them to help us in Kandahar, Afghanistan. So I was there for 2 days. I did not assist at the World Economic Forum. I was too busy. I had 32 meetings with different foreign affairs ministers. And after that was very successful because France, UK, Netherlands, other countries help us and give us, planes and all kind of equipment for the Canadian forces in Afghanistan. They're using that because I had these meetings in Davos. They're using that, my opponent, to say that I'm a globalist. I'm not. And I'm very proud that I did that for our country. I did my best for our Canadian forces to be sure that they will have the right equipment and the right support for that war. So, when I'm saying no to international supervision by international organization, it's like in UK. In UK, they had the Brexit. And why they decided to keep their sovereignty. They want to be in control in London and not in Brussels. So they voted yes for Brexit. But when some people are saying, oh, Maxime, you speak about, a supranational government, that won't happen. Canada will always be a sovereign country. Yes and no. Look what happened in Europe. They started to have a free trade agreement between the European countries in 1959. That was only free trade. And after that, they signed other treaties. And the last one was the Maastricht treaties. And they created a parliament in Brussels. They created a supranational government that can say to the government in France or in UK, when they were part of that, what to do. So it took them 50 years. It started only with a free trade agreement, but after 50 years, they have a supranational government that is looking over national governments over there. That's what the UN and the World Economic Forum want to do. They have that in mind. They want to have a supra government that will be over every country. So we need to say no to that. We need to reaffirm our sovereignty, and that's what we are doing. But I believe that Polyev, when he's speaking about that, he's saying, oh yeah, I'm against the World Economic Forum, but at the same time he's saying yes for the Paris Accord, yes for the Migration Compact, and yes for the World Health Organization. So for us, it's a no everywhere. And actually, in Alberta, Danielle Smith did a good job. She said to all their civil servants over there, you won't be able to have any discussion with the World Health Organization. We are a sovereign province, and healthcare is a provincial jurisdiction. We'll solve our problems here in Alberta. And she said no to the World Health Organization. Good for her. So smart populist party, putting people first and our country first. And also with common sense policies. Common sense policies. The common sense is not that common these days. So that's why they need us. You know, when it's controversial today to say that there's only two sexes, men and women, it's controversial. Can you believe that? It's based on science and biology and all that. But the main political establishment, political parties won't speak about that. Because wokeism is everywhere. In class, in journalists, in parliament, everywhere, in our Canadian forces. The Canadian forces said, you know, with the LGBT something day a couple of weeks ago, I think it was a Friday, and they were proud because they said we're not doing any discrimination and everybody is welcome and blah, blah, blah. But they were the first one to discriminate against soldiers who decided not to take the 2 shots. They lost their jobs. So we have a woke Canadian forces, and wokeism is everywhere. So that's a cultural war. That's a common sense revolution that we must do. And we're not afraid to speak about it, to speak against that. And I think the more we will speak about it, the more the common sense will prevail, like the truth will prevail. Just remember the Freedom Convoy and all the COVID hysteria. We were right when we said the vaccine is not safe and is not effective. They were looking at us like, oh, no, they're crazy. No, we had the science on our side. Like right now, we have the science on our side. There's only 2 sexes.
Do you have any biological degree? Did you ever do any genetic research that you can say that?
I do, and I can say it.
I don't need that. I don't need that. I know the difference with a man and a woman, and I can tell you that I can tell.
Agree that is a private affair. Why is this a matter in this political event?
It's
Don't you know the difference?
Okay. Okay.
And private?
Yeah.
Don't you know the difference between that public and private?
You can do what you want with your body at 18 years old. But now what is happening right now with these woke, they have a drag queen story hour. You know, and they're doing that in front of our kids. That's a sexualization of our kids. They try to tell a young boy that he may not be a young boy. He may be born in a wrong body. That does not exist. So they can do what they want. You can transform and mutilate your body at 18 years old. But now they're doing that, they're giving hormone blockers to kids without the consent of their parents. We must stop that. We believe in parental rights. We believe that gender dysphoria exists, but the solution is not to try to transition. That does not exist. You cannot transition. I'm using the vocabulary, but you cannot transition to another sex. You won't be able. If you're a man, you will never be able to give birth. That's it. So, but what happened with Polyev and all these conservatives, including your conservative MP here, they voted for the bill C4. What is the bill C4? That's the convergent therapy. So they said it's illegal if you're a parent to try to speak to your kid, or if you're a medical professional to try to speak to your kid for your kid to accept their sex. It is illegal to do that. But it is legal in that bill to speak to your kids if you're a young boy and you're playing, or you're a young girl and you're playing with trucks, and your kids may think that she's a girl or he's a boy. It's legal to send your kids to a medical professional, and they will try to start the transition process. That must be the opposite. And we will repeal that bill. But Polyev voted for that with all the conservatives. So that's why I'm saying it's a cultural revolution that we must do. A common sense revolution. You know that better than me, common sense revolution. Somebody did it a couple of years ago at the provincial level. But it must be a real common sense revolution that we must start. So, speaking about the PPC, people are saying, oh, Maxime, you had only 5% of the vote. You're not in parliament. You won't be able to change anything. I'm losing and I'm wasting my time to vote for you. And you are splitting the vote. So let's speak about that a little bit. First, I just want you to remember the Green Party of Canada. It took 15 years for the Green Party of Canada to have more than 1.6% of the vote. After 15 years, we had 1.6% of the vote our first year, our first election in 2019. We didn't wait 15 years. It happened at our first election. And after 35 years, the Green Party at the last election was at 2%. And for us, after 4 years, we had 5%. We tripled our score. Step by step, we are growing. And the goal is, at the next election, we will increase our support. We had 840,000 people who voted for us at the last election. Imagine if each one of these voters, each one of them, tried to find 10 more supporters, will have 8 million votes and will be around 25%. And by the way, you may have 3 years to find 10 more persons. And that's your job, that's my job. That's why I'm traveling across the country, building the party, building the organization, and having more support to be ready for the next election. So step by step, we are there. What about me not being in parliament? Elizabeth May was elected after 28 years. It took 28 years for the Green Party to have their first candidate elected. I'm telling you tonight, it won't take 28 years. I will be elected, we'll have candidates that will be elected, and we will start that common sense revolution in Parliament. And that may come sooner, because as you know, the next election may be in 2025. But, just wait. But this year, we will have 5 by-elections, because 5 members of Parliament resign. And Trudeau will have to call these 5 by-elections before the end of May. That means that in Canada, in 5 ridings, we will be in election, and we'll have an election date maybe at the end of August. There's one riding in Manitoba where we'll have a by-election, southern Manitoba, called Portage-Lisgar. Our candidate over there at the last election had 22% of the vote. The best score in Canada, 22%. And actually, I had the biggest rally during the last election in that riding. We had 3,000 people in a rally over there. We have a strong PPC organization in that riding. And also, there's a Francophone community in that riding also. So they are asking me to run in that riding. And they said, Maxime, you will have a big chance to be elected. We have a strong organization, and we have a strong message. So I'm looking at it. I'm taking seriously to maybe run in that riding for that by-election. And if I'm elected, that will be it. I will be there, and I will fight in Parliament. If I'm not elected, we are growing the party, but I'll do my best. If I decide to go there, I still have to speak with my wife, I must admit that.
Smart man.
Yeah, but I told her that we must have, together, we must have a decision before the end of May, because Trudeau will call the election in June. So I will be in Manitoba next week to speak with our people over there, to have a discussion about the organization and all that. So that can be an opportunity to be elected in between general election. What my people are telling me also over there, Maxime, that would be great if you run in a by-election, because you know the argument about splitting the vote. The Conservative, as you know, they don't want to speak about policies with us. The Conservative will never speak about policies, because we have the right conservative, common sense family policies. They know that. They don't want to have the discussion about our policies. The only argument during every election, split the vote. If you vote for Maxime, you'll have Trudeau and all that. But that argument about splitting the vote won't apply in a by-election. We won't change the government. It will be Trudeau after the by-election. So they cannot use that argument about splitting the vote. And that's their only argument that they have against us. And I want to speak about that argument. So we are a unique political party. And if you look at our policies, go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and read every policy. It's only 2 pages. Go on platform and read it. We have 17 policies. And you read it, it's 2 pages. You have the issue, the facts, and the solution. If you took all these policies and compare that with Poilievre and the Conservative, I will be very fast on that. And I want to show you that we are very different. We are not splitting the Conservative vote, because the conservatives are not conservative, and Poilievre is splitting the liberal votes. He will need the seat in the GDA and Vancouver to be elected, and in pandering to the big city leftist voters. So on immigration, I told you that. Poilievre is like Trudeau, he's for mass immigration. On climate change, I told you that. Poilievre is like Trudeau, he will support the Paris Accord. On the equalization formula, that it's unfair for every province, Poilievre is like Trudeau, he won't change that. On all the wokeism and the wokeism, he's with Trudeau. He doesn't want to speak about it. We are. I can go on the Ukraine, the war in Ukraine. Poilievre is pro-war like Trudeau. And we are the only political party that is fighting for peace and a ceasefire over there. And why? Because that is our culture in Canada. That is part of our history. We are a peacemaking and a peacekeeping country. And we are proud of that. It is not our war. It is not. And we are giving $8 billion to Ukraine over there. Zelensky, that's a corrupt government. Do you strongly believe that the money will go for his army? No. And we have proof of that. The US also, we have proof that the money is not going there. We are broke. We don't have any money. We have huge deficit. And now the time will be, is very difficult here in Canada with that recession, and we are sending money. We, Trudeau and Poilievre, are sending money that they don't have to a corrupt government. So we don't have to play that game. We must do like Chrétien did, a liberal government, when he said no to George W. Bush with the war in Iraq. He said, it's not our war, we won't participate with that. We have to be independent. And Chrétien took the right decision. What about Trudeau father? Trudeau father said no to the US for the war in Vietnam. He said, it's not a war, we don't have to be there. So that's our history, peacemaking and peacekeeping, and we must be out there to promote a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. All that must stop as soon as possible. So the other side on that, I can speak about healthcare. Poilievre, we don't have the services that we need to have with our healthcare system in Canada. But Poilievre and Trudeau, they're the same on that. They don't want to change the system for a better system. They want to throw more money. You know, it's not a question of money. The system is broken. We need to change the system. Like in Europe, they have a universal mixed private and public system. When I'm speaking about universal, everybody has an insurance. Everybody. That's universal. But they have the choice. As an individual in Europe, you have the choice to go to a private clinic or to go to a public hospital. There's competition. And they spend less money than we are in Sweden and other countries in Europe for healthcare. We need to have a system like that. And actually they're saying, oh, you know, people will go to the private sector and they will have the best doctor in the private sector and the worst doctor will be in the public sector and blah, blah, blah. That's not true, because the doctors will have to give some time in public and some time in private. So, like in Europe, but you will have to choose if you want to go to a private clinic or to a public hospital. It's not a system like in the US, it's a system like in Europe, a mixed system. And actually we have that in Canada a little bit. In Quebec, they're going to build a private hospital, couple of private hospitals to compete with the public sector. But we are not allowing that. They're trying to do that, but They won't respect the Canada Health Act. And Trudeau and Poilievre want to impose their vision on us about healthcare. I believe in a radical decentralization. Your provincial government know the best what is good for you, and not the federal government on healthcare. But we want to give them the right incentive. How can we do that? The federal government is spending $42 billion giving that to provinces for healthcare. $42 billion every year. I will cut that. Oh, Maxime, you're crazy. No. I will cut that. I will do better than that. I will give them the means to raise their own money for their own jurisdictions. And what I will do? The GST. The federal government receives annually income from the GST, $44 billion a year. I will give them the GST. You'll be able to raise the money with your own tax for your own responsibility. And like that, you will know who to blame if you have a waiting time for surgeries. Now you don't know who to blame. Is it the federal government because the federal government is not giving enough money to your province? Or is it your provincial government because they don't know how to manage an hospital? I want you to know who to blame. Responsibility. Provincial governments are in charge of health care. So what will happen? They will have a discussion at the provincial level during a cabinet meeting. And they're going to say, okay, we have the GST, we're raising money for that. And they will, they're going to say, we need more money for healthcare. So maybe the transport minister will say, no, I need more money for my roads. And they will have a discussion about what to do with the money. And so if they want to be efficient, they will look at a new alternative and they will bring more competition in the system. That will be a right incentive because they won't be able to come back to Ottawa for money. They will have the GST. They will have the same amount that the federal government is giving them this year. So that's why at that time you'll know to blame. That will be your provincial government if you don't have good services for health care. So we are the only party that is having the real solution for that. Poilievre and the Liberals won't speak about that. I can go on with a lot of policies that are very different. What I'm telling you tonight is read our platform, and the most important challenges that we have in this country to rebuild this country and put this country on the right track: immigration, healthcare, cultural war. We are the only party that is speaking to do these reforms. And about immigration, you know, the housing crisis. What is happening with the housing crisis? Poilievre and Trudeau, they said it's a supply problem. We need to build more houses. And we need to build big towers that will have a lot of people living in the towers and in the big cities like Toronto and Vancouver and other cities. The problem is not supply for the housing crisis. The problem is the demand. We have too many people that are coming to Canada. And like I told you, 1 million of them last year. And all these people need a roof. So that's why we have an housing crisis. To solve that, we need to have fewer immigrants. And we are the only party that is speaking about the real solution for that. I can go on the most important challenges that we are having as a society. Inflation. Poilievre said he will fight inflation. Poilievre is like Trudeau. To fight inflation. Inflation is a tax. You are paying the inflation tax. You and me and everybody, we are paying the inflation tax. And this year, we will be poor. If your salary did not increase by 6%, you are losing money. 6% is the inflation rate of this year.
We would have never noticed that. Thanks for letting us know.
So 6%. So we have that inflation. And now we need to fight that inflation. But the Bank of Canada has an inflation target of 2%. The Bank of Canada wants to have 2% every year. and now we had 6%. So we need to say to the Bank of Canada, we're going to impose an inflation target of 0%. No more inflation. 2% inflation is bad, 6% inflation is bad, 20% inflation is bad. We need to have a 0% inflation. Like that, everybody will keep their purchasing power. With that 2% inflation target, since 2012 to 2022, with that inflation target, the Bank of Canada created 25% inflation the last 10 years. That means that your dollar that you had in your pocket in 2012, the value of that dollar in 2022 was only 80 cents. So we are poor. Inflation is a tax. We need to stop that. We need to tell the Bank of Canada zero inflation target. That's very important, but Poilievre won't speak about that. Because inflation is coming from the Bank of Canada. Why are we having that inflation here in Canada and in US and everywhere in Europe? Because all these countries, including our government, did the same thing during COVID-19. They told us, stay at home, lock down, don't move. The virus is very dangerous. You're gonna die. So stay at home. But we know that you need money. We will pay you to stay at home. And so Poilievre approved a big spending and Trudeau did a big deficit. But that deficit was financed by the Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada printed a lot of money out of thin air. When you have more money chasing fewer goods, you have inflation. So because of that printing of money, we have that inflation today. And actually the inflation is the same in Europe and in US because all these governments did the same thing. Lockdown, stay at home, will give you money that we don't have. We're going to print the money. Our central bank will print the money. You'll have it, but that creates inflation. So that's why we have inflation. We need to stop that. But Poilievre voted for all these big programs. And at that time, you know, he asked Trudeau to impose a vaccine on us faster. I was the only one at that time. It was not popular, and you know it. It was not popular in March 2020 to be for freedom of choice. And that's why Poilievre didn't speak about that. Because they're doing polling and focus group every week. And they know that the fear was very efficient. But because we did together rallies across the country in big cities and small towns, and after that we had the Freedom Convoy. And I was there. But now we were able to shift the public opinion. And Poilievre did a lot of polling during the Freedom Convoy, and he wanted to be the leader of the Conservative Party. So he spoke like a conservative, and he said that would be good for me to be for the Freedom Convoy. So he did a photo op with a trucker in his riding, but I didn't see him on the hill. No, it was too dangerous. So what I'm telling you, they don't have any conviction, the conservative. So if you're voting for the conservative, you're voting for the liberals. It will be the same thing. So if you vote for us, and if you vote for David, and David is elected, what will happen? David will support Poilievre when Poilievre will be a conservative. And when he won't be a conservative, he won't support him. So we can be like the NDP of the right. We will support a Poilievre government when they will be conservative. And I believe it would be rare. Because, you know, for him, being conservative, it's tough, it's difficult. You need to explain your policies to the population. So, for us, voting for the PPC, it's voting in line with your values, it's voting for yourself, it's voting to change this country, and that change will happen. It will happen. Like COVID-19. What we need to do, we need to change the public opinion. That's what we need to do. We did it successfully. It took us about 2 years, about COVID-19. And we did it. We were able to shift and change the public opinion. It's why after the Freedom Convoy, Saskatchewan, Alberta decided to end their mandates. Because it was not so popular. Because of the Freedom Convoy and everybody that did work for freedom the last 2 years before the Freedom Convoy. So we were able to change the public opinion. And we must do the same thing in all these subjects to move the public opinion on our side. Step by step it will come. Like during COVID-19, the truth will prevail, and now we know that we were right, and they don't want to speak about that anymore. They don't, because they know that they were wrong. They don't want it, and we know it. So we need to do the same thing for immigration, for all these important subjects and public policies for the future of our country. And that's why I count on you. I cannot do that alone. So like David told you, if you want to be part of the change, if you want to be the change, come with us, fight with us. I tell you we will win. What I can tell you, I don't know when, but we will, for sure we will. And that tyranny will end. We will do that together, step by step. So the next step for us as a political party is to grow our support. And the best thing is to first go on our website, read our platform, know a little bit more about the PPC, and that's why I'm doing a Q&A, and I will answer your questions and we'll have a discussion, because I want you to know more about the party. I want you to have a discussion with your friends, with your neighbors, with your co-worker about the PPC. So, you know, if you ask a question, oh, do you know the People's Party? A lot of them won't know the People's Party, because our challenge, we are cancelled with the mainstream media. They know that the truth is powerful, and they know that if they are giving us more visibility, we will grow faster. So that's a big challenge. That's why when I'm traveling, I'm speaking with local mainstream media, local radio station. They're real journalists at the local level. So they're giving us an opportunity to be in the local mainstream media, and I'm also doing a lot of YouTube and social media to promote our ideas. But I cannot do that alone. I'm doing that with our candidates. And actually right now we have about 100 candidates approved and selected, ready if we have an election tomorrow. And we are looking for more candidates. We are doing a call for candidates right now. We want to have another 100 candidates ready for an election before the end of this year. So we'll have 200 candidates on 342 ridings. Our goal is to have a full slate of candidates before the next election, because we want our candidates to be ready and work in their riding like David is doing right now to promote the party. So that's a challenging time. That's a very tough time for us as a true conservative and common sense people, but we need each other. And that's why I said in the beginning, you need our voice, but I need your support. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight, and let's start that conversation.